I'd survived 3 tours in Afghanistan, IEDs, firefights, watching friends bleed out in the sand. Nothing prepared me for walking into my own bedroom and finding my wife Valerie bent over our bed with my business partner Derek behind her. My name is Kevin Robinson, and I'm 37 years old. The rage that hit me in that moment could have leveled cities, but I didn't lose control. What followed wasn't blind revenge, it was calculated justice. They thought they could destroy me while I was overseas, thought I'd come home broken and accept their betrayal. Instead, I made them both face real consequences. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your life, you'll understand exactly why I did what I did next. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. I'd been overseas for 8 months, Afghanistan, 3rd tour, the kind of deployment where every morning you wake up wondering if it's your last. My unit wasn't supposed to rotate back for another 6 weeks, but I caught a break, early leave for sustained combat operations, enough firefights, enough close calls. Command decided I'd earned it. I didn't tell Valerie, wanted to surprise her. God, what a surprise it turned out to be. I pulled into our driveway in suburban Sacramento at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Our house, the one I'd been making mortgage payments on from a combat zone, looked perfect. Manicured lawn, fresh paint, the American dream. I used my key, walked through the front door with my duffel bag. The house was quiet except for sounds coming from upstairs. At first I thought maybe Valerie was watching something. Then I heard her voice. Then I heard his voice. Derek Hansen, my business partner. The guy I'd co-founded Robinson Hansen Security Consulting with 5 years ago. The guy I'd trusted to run our company while I was deployed. The guy who'd been to our house for dinners, barbecues, who'd been my friend for 7 years. I took the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. My training kicked in, that cold, focused state where emotion gets locked away and you become pure purpose. The bedroom door was half open, and there they were. Valerie was bent over our bed, the same bed where we'd made our vows to each other mean something. Derek was behind her. Neither of them heard me. They were too busy. I watched for exactly 5 seconds, long enough to burn the image into my memory, long enough to make absolutely certain of what I was seeing. Then I spoke. "Well, this is interesting," Valerie screamed. Derek stumbled backward, scrambling for his pants. I stood in the doorway, completely still, my duffel bag dropping to the floor with a heavy thud. "Kevin!" Valerie grabbed the sheets, her face cycling through shock, horror, and then, most insulting of all, anger. "What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" I smiled. Actually smiled. "In my own house? The house I've been paying for while getting shot at? That's your question?" Derek was pulling on his jeans, his hands shaking. "Man, listen, I can explain." "Shut your mouth." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. The look on my face said everything. You don't speak to me. You don't get to explain. You get to stand there and realize your entire life just ended. "Kevin, you're being dramatic," Valerie said, wrapping the sheet around herself. She had the audacity to sound annoyed. "This isn't. We didn't mean for this to happen." "You didn't mean for this to happen?" I laughed, low and cold. "You accidentally fell on his dick? Is that the story we're going with?" "Don't be crude," she snapped. "Don't be crude?" I stepped into the room. Both of them flinched. "I've spent 8 months in a desert hellhole watching friends die so you could live in this house and screw my business partner in my bed. And you're worried about me being crude?" Derek found his voice. "Kevin, man, please. We need to talk about this like adults." "Like adults?" I turned on him. "You want to talk about adult behavior? About honor? Loyalty? I trusted you with my business, with my family, and you repaid that by screwing my wife. You're not an adult, Derek. You're a parasite, and I'm about to show you what happens to parasites. You can't just—" Valerie started. "I can't what?" I cut her off. "I can't be angry? I can't demand answers? Let me tell you what I can do, Valerie. I can divorce you. I can make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of woman you are. I can destroy the perfect little life you've been living on my dime while I was getting mortared." "You're threatening me?" Her green eyes widened. "No, I'm promising you." I looked between them both. "Both of you. You made the choice to do this. Now you get to live with every single consequence. And trust me, there are going to be a lot of them." Derek tried again. The business? The business? I laughed again. Oh, Derek, you think you still have a business? You think I'm going to let you keep profiting off the company I built? The contracts I secured? I'm going to pull that company apart brick by brick, and you're not going to see a dime. You can't do that, he said weakly. Watch me. I turned back to the door, then paused. Valerie, pack a bag. You've got 1 hour to get out of this house. Derek, if you're not gone in 60 seconds, I'm calling the cops and filing a trespassing report. And just so we're clear, this is the last time either of you will have the upper hand. From this moment forward, your lives belong to me. I walked out, leaving them frozen in that bedroom. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. The rage was there, burning like molten steel, but I controlled it, shaped it, weaponized it. I went downstairs and called my lawyer. Not the family attorney Valerie and I had used for wills and estate planning. I called Gabriel Whitmore, a bulldog of a divorce attorney I'd met through military connections. He'd represented 3 guys in my unit through messy divorces. His reputation was simple. He won, and he didn't care about playing nice. Kevin Robinson, he answered. Haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on? I need you, now. Found my wife in bed with my business partner an hour ago. Jesus, you didn't do anything stupid, did you? Define stupid. I told them both their lives were over. That count? As long as nobody's bleeding, we're fine. I heard papers rustling. Where are you? My house. She's still upstairs. I gave her an hour to leave. Good. Don't let her take anything except clothes. No jewelry, no documents, nothing. I'll be there in 40 minutes. Don't engage with her until I arrive. And Kevin, don't talk to the business partner either. Not a word. Everything goes through lawyers now. Understood. I hung up and sat in my living room. The house was silent except for frantic movement upstairs. Valerie was packing. I pulled out my phone and started documenting. Photos of the bedroom, the rumpled sheets, Derek's clothes still on the floor where he'd left them in his panic to dress. I time-stamped everything, every single image, evidence. That's what this was now. You know that feeling when muscle memory takes over and you just operate on pure training? That's where I was. Combat mindset. Assess, document, execute. Then I called my second in command at the company, Nicholas Anderson. He'd been running day-to-day operations with Derek while I was deployed. Kevin, you're back early. How was... Nick, I need you to listen carefully. I just caught Derek sleeping with Valerie. In my house. In my bed. Silence. Then, holy shit. I need you to do something for me. Right now. Get to the office. Lock down every file related to our finances, client contracts, proprietary systems. Everything. Change all the passwords. Derek's access ends today. Kevin, he's a co-owner. I can't just... He's a co-owner who just committed a massive ethical violation. He compromised his fiduciary duty to the company by betraying his partner's trust in the most personal way possible. That makes him a liability. I'll handle the legal side, but right now I need our assets protected. Can you do this? Yeah, I can do this. I'm on it. Thank you. I'll explain everything later, but Nick, not a word to anyone, especially not Derek. You got it, boss. I hung up and sat back down, listened to the ceiling creak as Valerie moved around upstairs, drawers opening and closing, closet doors sliding, the sounds of my marriage ending, one piece of clothing at a time. 20 minutes later, Valerie came downstairs with 2 suitcases. Her eyes were red, but I couldn't tell if it was from crying or anger. Probably both. This is insane, she said. You can't just kick me out of my own house. My house, I corrected. I'm on the deed, solely. Remember? You wanted it that way for tax purposes. Funny how that works out. Where am I supposed to go? Honestly, I don't care. Maybe Derek has room. Though, knowing him, he probably has another woman somewhere too. You two seem to share common interests. You're being cruel. I'm being truthful. I stood up. You destroyed our marriage. You humiliated me. You broke vows you made in front of our families and God, and you did it with the one person who should have been loyal to me above everyone else. So no, Valerie, I'm not being cruel. I'm being remarkably restrained. Because if I was being cruel, you'd already be on the street with nothing but the clothes on your back. She opened her mouth, closed it, then grabbed her suitcases and walked out. The door slammed behind her. I sat back down and waited for Gabriel. Gabriel Whitmore arrived exactly 40 minutes after our call. He was 50-something, built like a linebacker gone soft around the middle, with silver hair and the coldest blue eyes I'd ever seen outside a combat zone. "Show me everything," he said, setting his briefcase on my dining room table. I walked him through it. The photos, the timeline, the witnesses, technically none, but I had the evidence. He listened, took notes, asked pointed questions. "Here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow morning we file for divorce. Irreconcilable differences with adultery as the cause. California is a no-fault state, but documenting the adultery helps us in other ways, especially if she tries to claim spousal support. Will she get alimony? Possibly. You were married for how long? 9 years. She might get temporary support while she gets on her feet. But we're going to argue against it based on her conduct and the fact that she was effectively cohabitating with another man. We'll minimize it as much as possible." "Good. Now, the business. Tell me about Robinson Hanson Security Consulting." I laid it out. Derek and I had founded it 5 years ago, specializing in security systems for corporate clients. I'd brought the military expertise, the connections, the technical knowledge. Derek had brought, honestly, capital. His family had money. He'd invested $200,000 initially. I'd invested my GI Bill money, my savings, and 5 years of sweat equity. The company was worth about $2.3 million now. We each owned 50%. "You want him out," Gabriel said. "It wasn't a question. I want him destroyed." Legally, destroying a business partner is complicated, but it's not impossible. The key is proving he violated his fiduciary duty to the company or engaged in conduct that makes continuing the partnership untenable. Sleeping with my wife while I'm deployed seems pretty untenable. It does to you and me, but legally it's personal, not professional. Unless, he leaned forward, unless we can show his affair affected the business. Was he using company time, company resources, company money? I thought about it. He took her to conferences. I saw the expense reports. Said she was networking. Jesus, I bet they were. Stop. Gabriel held up a hand. Don't speculate. Get me proof. Expense reports, emails, travel records, anything showing he used company funds to facilitate this affair. That's commingling personal misconduct with business assets. That gives us leverage. I'll have it by tomorrow. Good. In the meantime, I'm going to draft a demand letter to Derek. We're going to offer him 2 options. Sell his shares back to you at a fair valuation, or we file a lawsuit for breach of fiduciary duty and make the whole sordid affair public record. Either way, he's done. I smiled. It felt good. When do we start? We already have. Gabriel left 20 minutes later. I sat in the empty house, feeling the silence settle around me like a physical weight. My phone rang. Mom. "Kevin, honey, we're so sorry," she said. "Do you need anything? Do you want to come stay with us for a while?" "I'm fine, Mom. I'm staying in my house." She's the one who left. "Good. That's good." A pause. "Your father wants to talk to you." Dad got on the line. Vietnam vet, retired Marine, the man who taught me about honor and duty. Son. "Hey, Dad. You doing okay? I'm angry, but I'm handling it." "Good. That's what you do. You handle it. You don't fall apart. You don't beg. You don't give them the satisfaction. You handle your business like a man." He paused. "You need help burying the bodies. You call me." I laughed despite everything. "Thanks, Dad." "I'm serious. Whatever you need. Family stands together." That meant everything. That night, I spent hours in my home office, going through years of financial records. Nick had given me access to everything, and I downloaded files before Derek could think to delete them. And there it was, a pattern. Over the past 8 months, exactly as long as I'd been deployed, Derek had expensed $43,000 in business development costs. Dinners at expensive restaurants, hotel rooms in San Francisco, Vegas, San Diego. Always charged to the company card. And many of those trips? Valerie had been with him. I found her name on hotel reservations, found photos she'd posted on social media, geotagged at the same luxury hotels Derek had expensed. She'd been stupid enough to document their affair while he was charging it to our company. I compiled everything into a folder and sent it to Gabriel at 2 a.m. His response came at 6 a.m. "This is gold. We have him." I woke up the next morning to Gabriel's text confirming the meeting was set. 3 days from now, neutral ground, conference room at his office, 3 days to let Derek sweat. And boy, did he sweat. He tried calling me 17 times over those 3 days. I didn't answer once, just watched my phone light up with his name, over and over, like he thought persistence would somehow fix what he'd broken. On day 2, he showed up at the office. Nick was ready for him. "He's not here," Nick told him at the door. "I'm a co-owner of this company," Derek said, his voice rising. "You can't keep me out." "Actually, I can. Kevin changed the locks, and he's got a restraining order pending. You want to test that?" Derek left. But then the texts started. "We need to talk about the business, Kevin. Don't do something you'll regret. You're making a huge mistake. This is my company, too. I'm warning you. Back off or you'll regret it." Threats. Perfect. I forwarded every single one to Gabriel, who immediately filed for a restraining order. Derek was too stupid to realize he was handing me ammunition. You know what's funny? He thought he still had leverage, thought he could intimidate me. The guy who'd survived 3 combat tours, who'd watched friends die, who'd built a multi-million-dollar business from scratch, and he thought a few text messages would make me back down. Day 3. Gabriel called at 8 a.m. "Meeting's at 2. You ready?" "I'm ready." "Good. Remember, stay calm. Let me handle the legal talk. You just need to stare him down and let him see what he's lost." I could do that. I arrived at Gabriel's building at 1:45. The conference room was on the 3rd floor, all glass walls and leather chairs. Professional, cold, perfect for what was coming. Derek showed up 10 minutes late with his attorney, a nervous-looking guy named Albert McKinley. I recognized the type immediately. Young, inexperienced, probably took this case because Derek was desperate and willing to pay up front. Albert was in over his head and he knew it. I sat across from Derek, didn't say a word, just stared at him. Watched him shift in his seat, watched his eyes dart away, watched his hands shake slightly as he set down his briefcase. He couldn't even look at me. Gabriel spoke first. "Gentlemen, we're here to discuss the dissolution of Robinson Hanson Security Consulting. My client is willing to buy out Mr. Hanson's shares at fair market value, based on an independent valuation. The alternative is litigation." Albert cleared his throat. "My client feels that given his contributions to the company—" "Contributions?" I leaned forward. "Let's talk about contributions. I built that company from the ground up. Every major client, I brought them in. Every proprietary system, I designed it. Every government contract, my military connections." What did Derek contribute? Money. And apparently his ability to betray the person who made him wealthy. "Kevin," Derek started. "You don't get to say my name." My voice was ice. "You lost that right. You're a cheater and a thief. Yes, a thief. Because we have evidence that you used company funds to conduct your affair with my wife. $43,000 worth of evidence, to be exact. Hotels, dinners, trips. All expensed to Robinson Hanson, all while I was deployed." Derek went pale. Albert looked at his client with dawning horror. Gabriel slid a folder across the table. Exhibit A, expense reports, credit card statements, and social media evidence showing Mr. Hanson used company assets to facilitate an extramarital affair with Mrs. Robinson. That's embezzlement. That's fraud. That's a breach of fiduciary duty so egregious that not only will Mr. Hanson lose his shares, he'll be lucky to avoid criminal charges. This is harassment," Albert stammered. "This is justice," I corrected. "Here's the deal, Derek. You sell me your shares for $200,000, the exact amount you initially invested. No profit, no equity appreciation. You get out what you put in, and that's only because I'm feeling generous. You sign a non-compete agreement. You never work in security consulting again, and you disappear from my life forever." "That's insane," Derek found his voice. "The company's worth over $2 million. My shares are worth—" "Your shares are worth whatever I say they're worth. Because the alternative is I file a lawsuit that makes all of this public. Every client we have will know you embezzled company funds. Every prospect will Google your name and find the court documents. You'll be unhireable, untouchable. And when I'm done dismantling your professional reputation, I'm going to sue you personally for the emotional distress you caused. I'll take your car, your condo, every asset you have. I'm a decorated combat veteran, and you're the scumbag who betrayed me. Who do you think a jury will side with?" The room was silent except for the sound of Derek's breathing. He looked at Albert. Albert looked at the evidence folder. Then he leaned over and whispered in Derek's ear. 5 minutes later, Derek signed. He took his $200,000 and walked out of that conference room a broken man. And I didn't feel a single shred of guilt. The next morning, Gabriel filed the divorce papers. Adultery and irreconcilable differences. Clean, straightforward, devastating. Valerie hired an attorney within 48 hours. Claire Jensen. I'd heard of her. Mid-tier divorce lawyer who specialized in sympathetic narratives. She was going to need more than sympathy to win this one. The first settlement conference happened 2 weeks later. Same building where I'd destroyed Derek. Different floor. Gabriel and I arrived early. Valerie showed up 10 minutes late with Claire, her eyes red and puffy. She looked like hell. Good. Claire opened with her pitch to the mediator, a woman named Juliet Sanders, who had a reputation for cutting through nonsense. My client is a military wife who spent years supporting her husband's career. She was alone for months at a time while Mr. Robinson was deployed. She made one mistake, a moment of weakness during a particularly difficult period, and now she's being punished beyond what's reasonable. One mistake, a moment of weakness. I felt my jaw clench. Gabriel didn't even look up from his notes. Let's address that characterization immediately. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was an 8-month affair that began the day my client deployed to Afghanistan and continued until he returned early and caught them in the act. 8 months. That's calculated. That's deliberate. That's not a mistake. That's a choice she made every single day for 240 days. He slid a timeline across the table. Dates, locations, evidence. Claire shifted in her seat. Regardless of the timeline, Mrs. Robinson gave up career opportunities to support. Mrs. Robinson worked part-time retail for 3 years, Gabriel interrupted. Then she quit to find herself 2 years ago. She's contributed exactly $0 to the household income since then. 0. While my client was earning military pay and building a multi-million-dollar business. What career opportunities did she sacrifice? Exactly. Her opportunity to continue working 20 hours a week at a department store? Valerie's face flushed red. Gabriel wasn't done. Let's talk about what Mrs. Robinson was doing during those 8 months. She was living in a house my client paid for, driving a car my client paid for, and, most interesting of all, she was accepting expensive trips and dinners from Mr. Hansen, my client's former business partner. Trips and dinners that Mr. Hansen fraudulently charged to the company my client built. He slid another folder across. Expense reports, hotel reservations, her name right there in black and white. Mrs. Robinson knowingly participated in the embezzlement of marital assets. She knew those trips were being charged to Robinson Hansen Security Consulting. She knew the money was being stolen from the business her husband built. And she accepted them anyway because she was too busy enjoying herself to care where the money came from. That's an unfair characterization, Claire protested weakly. Is it? Gabriel pulled out printouts of Valerie's social media. I recognized them from my own investigation. Here's Mrs. Robinson in Las Vegas. Caption, living my best life. Here's Mrs. Robinson in San Francisco. Caption, much needed getaway. Here's Mrs. Robinson at a 5-star restaurant in San Diego. Caption, treating myself. All while my client was dodging IEDs in Afghanistan. All paid for with stolen company funds. Juliet Sanders studied the evidence carefully. Her expression never changed, but I saw her eyes harden when she looked at Valerie. Claire tried again. My client is entitled to spousal support. 9 years of marriage. 9 years of marriage that she destroyed, Gabriel cut in. My client is offering Mrs. Robinson her car, her personal belongings, and $30,000 in cash. That's a generous settlement for a woman who contributed nothing financially and destroyed everything personally. She gets to walk away with a fresh start, no ongoing support, clean break. $30,000 is nothing, Claire's voice rose. Mrs. Robinson needs time to get back on her feet, to re-establish her career. The career she voluntarily abandoned? Gabriel raised an eyebrow. Mrs. Robinson is 34 years old, healthy, and perfectly capable of working. She chose not to. That's not my client's responsibility anymore. Juliet Sanders set down the papers. She looked at Valerie for a long moment. Mrs. Robinson, I'm going to be frank with you. Your case for significant spousal support is weak. The adultery, while not legally determinative in California, speaks to credibility. The evidence of your participation in the embezzlement of marital assets through the business is damaging. The social media posts showing you living a luxury lifestyle while your husband was in a war zone are not sympathetic. If this goes to trial, you're likely to walk away with far less than what Mr. Robinson is currently offering. Valerie's eyes filled with tears. Claire leaned over and whispered to her. Valerie shook her head. Claire whispered more urgently. 10 minutes of hushed conversation. Valerie crying quietly, Claire looking increasingly resigned. Finally, Valerie reached for the pen. Her hand shook as she signed. In the parking lot, she caught up to me. Gabriel had gone ahead to his car, giving me space. "You're really going to leave me with nothing?" Valerie asked, her voice breaking. I turned to face her. "I'm leaving you with more than you deserve. You get $30,000 and your freedom. What did you leave me with? A destroyed marriage, a broken trust, and the memory of walking in on you bent over my bed with my best friend. So yeah, Valerie, you're getting exactly what's fair." I walked away, left her crying in the parking lot, and I didn't look back. I sat in my office at Robinson Security Consulting, and looked at the new sign on the wall. No more Robinson Hanson, just my name, just my company. The divorce had finalized 2 weeks ago. I'd kept the house, the business, my military benefits, everything I'd actually earned. Valerie walked away with her 30 grand and nothing else. She'd signed away any claim to my pension, my future earnings, all of it. Worth every penny of Gabriel's fees to watch her do it. Nicholas knocked on my doorframe. "Got a minute?" "Always." "What's up?" He stepped in, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in months. "Just wanted to say thank you for the promotion. VP of Operations. I won't let you down." "You already haven't. You locked down the company when it mattered. You've been running day to day better than Derek ever did." I leaned back in my chair. "You earned it, Nick. No question. My sister's settling in well, too." HR needed someone who actually knows what they're doing. Riley. Nicholas's sister had joined us a month ago as HR director. Smart, organized, and, I had to admit, easy to be around. "She's doing great work," I said. Nicholas grinned like he knew something I didn't. "Yeah, she is." After he left, I pulled up the latest contract proposals on my screen. 2 major government contracts secured through my military connections, $5 million over 3 years. The company had grown from 8 employees to 24 in 3 months. Revenue had tripled. Last week, I'd been interviewed for a veterans magazine, an example of successful post-service entrepreneurship, they'd called me. The article would run next month. The culture here had completely transformed. People were loyal, hardworking, grateful for the opportunity. Nobody was embezzling funds or screwing the boss's wife. Funny how that works. I'd heard through the grapevine, old industry contacts who couldn't resist sharing, that Derek was working as a mall security guard in Fresno. The non-compete had another 18 months on it, and even after it expired, his reputation was so thoroughly destroyed that nobody in security consulting would touch him. Valerie wasn't doing much better. Studio apartment, retail job. No boyfriend. Derek had dumped her the second she became a broke divorcee instead of a married woman with access to money. Apparently, she'd only been interesting when she came with the thrill of taboo. My life had improved in every measurable way. I had my dignity, my business, my self-respect, friends who actually gave a damn about loyalty. And yeah, I had something else too. That evening, Riley met me at an Italian place downtown. Nothing fancy, just good food and quiet booths where you could actually have a conversation. It had started naturally. Late nights at the office, working through restructuring plans, shared lunches where we talked about more than just work. She was smart, funny, honest, in a way that felt refreshing after Valerie's constant manipulation. And she understood. She'd been through her own divorce after her ex cheated. She knew what betrayal felt like. "How are you doing?" she asked after we ordered. "Really doing? Honestly? Better than I have in years." I meant it. The company's thriving. The divorce is final. Derek and Valerie are exactly where they put themselves. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just content. She smiled. "Good. You're allowed to be happy, you know. You did everything right. You didn't let them destroy you." "I took control," I said. "Made sure there were consequences." "That matters." "It does." She reached across the table, took my hand. "A lot of people would have just rolled over, accepted it. You didn't. You fought back, and you won." The waitress brought our wine. Riley raised her glass. "To moving forward." "To moving forward," I echoed. We talked for 2 hours. About the business, about her plans for the HR department, about life outside of work. She made me laugh. Actually laugh, not the bitter kind I'd been doing for months. When we left, I walked her to her car. She turned to face me, still smiling. "This is nice," she said. "Us. Whatever this is. Yeah, it is. You deserve it, Kevin. You deserve peace. You deserve to be happy. You're not alone anymore. She was right. I wasn't alone. For the first time since I'd walked through my front door and found my world shattered, I felt genuinely at peace. The next morning started with a knock on my door. I was drinking coffee, still thinking about last night with Riley, feeling better than I had in months. The mailman handed me a thick envelope. Certified mail, return address from a law firm I didn't recognize, Baxter & Cole LLP, San Francisco. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Inside was a lawsuit, 23 pages of legal jargon. But the summary was clear enough. Derek Hansen was suing me. He claimed the buyout agreement had been signed under duress, coercion, that I'd threatened him, that Gabriel had intimidated him, that his lawyer hadn't properly advised him. The non-compete agreement was unconscionable, he argued, unenforceable, a violation of his right to earn a living. He wanted his shares back, or fair market value, which, given the company's growth, would be over $1 million now. I stared at those papers, my hands starting to shake, not from fear, from pure incandescent rage. After everything, he still wouldn't accept defeat. I grabbed my phone and called Gabriel. Kevin, what's wrong? He's suing me, Derek, claiming the settlement was coerced, wants his shares back or $1 million. Silence on the other end. Then a long exhale. Send me the complaint, now. I scanned it with my phone and sent it over. Gabriel called back 5 minutes later. He's desperate, Gabriel said, his voice tight. The non-compete is killing him. He can't work in his field, and he's running out of money. This is a Hail Mary. Can he win? It's unlikely. We have documentation of his embezzlement, his breach of duty, the settlement conference with his attorney present. But Kevin, I'm not going to lie to you. Litigation is expensive, time-consuming. There's always some risk, no matter how strong our case is. How long? Months. Depositions, document production, motions. We'll need to respond to discovery requests, sit through his lawyer trying to make you look like the bad guy. It's going to be exhausting. I closed my eyes. I thought this was over. So did I. But Derek's got nothing left to lose. That makes him dangerous in a different way. After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table staring at the lawsuit. The stress came roaring back like it had never left. The anger, the frustration, the sense that no matter what I did, no matter how thoroughly I'd beaten him, Derek would keep coming back for more. I went into the office, but I couldn't focus. Numbers on spreadsheets blurred together. Client calls went in one ear and out the other. I sat at my desk pretending to work while my mind ran in circles. Around 3 p.m., Nick knocked on my door. You okay, boss? Yeah, fine, just tired. He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. But he didn't push. If you need anything, I know. Thanks, Nick. That evening, I was sitting in my home office, staring at the lawsuit papers spread across my desk, when I heard the front door open. Kevin? Riley. I'd given her a key last week. Hadn't even thought about it, just felt right. She appeared in the doorway, took one look at me, and her expression shifted. Talk to me. I gestured at the papers. Derek's suing me. Claims I coerced him into the settlement. Wants his shares back or over $1 million. She walked over, picked up the complaint, skimmed it. Her jaw tightened. He won't quit. No, he won't. My voice came out flat, dead. Even after losing everything, he wants more. Wants to drag me through court, cost me money, time, peace of mind. Gabriel says it'll take months. Depositions, filings, uncertainty. Then you fight him again. She set the papers down. And you win again. I'm tired of fighting. The words escaped before I could stop them. I just want to move on, build something, be happy, and he keeps dragging me back into this war. Riley sat down next to me, took my hand in both of hers. Kevin, look at me. I did. You've beaten him at every turn, every single time. You caught him red-handed, you protected your assets, you destroyed his scheme, you got everything in the divorce, you rebuilt the company. He's lost every battle, and he'll lose this one too. You don't know that. I do, because you're better than him, smarter, stronger. You have the truth on your side. He's got nothing but desperation and lies. She squeezed my hand. And Kevin, this time, you're not alone. You have me. You have Nick. You have your parents. You have an entire company of people who believe in you, who've seen what you've built, who know what you're capable of. I looked at her, really looked at her. saw the certainty in her eyes, the strength. "I don't know if I can do this again." "You can, and you will." She didn't let go of my hand. "Because you're not the kind of man who quits. You're the kind who stands his ground and makes sure justice gets done. That's who you are. 4 months of hell. That's what it took. 4 months of depositions where Derek's lawyer tried to paint me as some kind of vindictive bully. 4 months of document requests, interrogatories, and mounting legal bills. 4 months of Riley telling me it would be okay while I lay awake at night wondering if this nightmare would ever end. Gabriel kept assuring me our evidence was overwhelming, that we had this locked down, that Derek didn't have a prayer. But you never really know until the judge makes it official, do you? We walked up the courthouse steps at 9:30 in the morning. Gabriel carried his briefcase, the one stuffed with every piece of evidence we'd compiled. I wore my dress uniform, Gabriel's idea. "Remind the judge who you are," he'd said. "Remind him what you sacrificed while Derek was stealing from you." Derek was already in the courtroom when we entered. He looked like hell, haggard, desperate, the kind of desperate that comes from realizing you've bet everything on a losing hand and the dealer's about to call you on it. Albert McKinley sat next to him, shuffling papers nervously. That told me everything I needed to know about how confident they felt. Judge Steve Harrison entered, and we all stood. He was in his 60s, stern-faced, with the kind of no-nonsense demeanor that came from 20 years on the bench dealing with people's worst moments. "Be seated." He looked at the case file, then at all of us. "Let's proceed." Albert stood. "Your Honor, my client signed the settlement agreement under extreme duress. Mr. Robinson threatened him, used coercive tactics, and forced him to accept a buyout that was grossly unfair given the company's value. My client deserves—" "Mr. McKinley," the judge's voice cut him off. "I've read your filings. Present your evidence." Albert stumbled through it, claimed the settlement was unconscionable, that Derek had been under emotional distress, that the non-compete was overly restrictive, that the company's current value, now over $3 million, proved the settlement had been unfair. It was weak, pathetic, really. Then Gabriel stood. "Your Honor, the evidence tells a very different story." He laid it out methodically. The expense report showing $43,000 in embezzled funds, the hotel receipts with Valerie's name, the social media posts proving she'd been with Derek on company-funded trips. Mr. Hansen used company assets to conduct an extramarital affair with his partner's wife, while that partner was deployed in a war zone. That's embezzlement. That's fraud. That's a breach of fiduciary duty so severe it could have resulted in criminal charges. Gabriel slid the settlement agreement across to the judge. Mr. Hansen signed this agreement with full legal representation present. His attorney, Mr. McKinley, advised him before signing. He was under no duress except the consequences of his own actions. Then Gabriel pulled out the new evidence, the emails Nick had found buried in our archived server backups. "Your Honor, we've also discovered communications between Mr. Hansen and a third party from 18 months ago, 6 months before the affair began. In these emails, Mr. Hansen explicitly states he's working an angle to push my client out of the business and take full control of Robinson Security Consulting." My chest tightened. I'd seen these emails, but hearing Gabriel read them in court made it real in a different way. "Kevin's deployed for another 8 months. Plenty of time to make my move." Those are Mr. Hansen's words, Your Honor. The affair with Mrs. Robinson wasn't a moment of passion or weakness. It was a calculated strategy to destroy my client's marriage, destabilize him emotionally, and create leverage to force him out of the company he built. Derek's face had gone white. Mr. Hansen engaged in fraud, embezzlement, and a deliberate scheme to steal his partner's business and marriage. He was caught. He was given a fair settlement, far fairer than he deserved. And now he's wasting this court's time because that scheme failed. Judge Harrison reviewed the exhibits. The courtroom was silent except for the rustling of papers. Then he looked up at Derek. The disgust on his face was unmistakable. "Mr. Hansen, this is one of the most frivolous lawsuits I've seen in 20 years on this bench." His voice was cold, hard. "You engaged in fraud, embezzlement, a calculated scheme to destroy your business partner's marriage and steal his company. You signed a settlement agreement with full legal representation after being presented with overwhelming evidence of your misconduct. And now you have the audacity to come into my courtroom claiming you were treated unfairly." Derek opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "Motion dismissed. With prejudice." The gavel came down. "Mr. Hansen, You are barred from filing any future claims related to Robinson Security Consulting. Any attempt to do so will result in sanctions. And, Mr. Hansen, you're lucky Mr. Robinson hasn't pressed criminal charges. Get out of my courtroom." Derek's face went ashen. Albert grabbed his briefcase and practically bolted for the door, Derek stumbling after him. I sat there, not moving, not breathing. It was over. Outside, Gabriel shook my hand. "That's it, Kevin. It's over. He can't touch you again. Ever." I exhaled. Actually exhaled. Like I'd been holding my breath for 4 months straight. "Thank you. You did this. You stood your ground. You didn't back down. That takes guts." The weight lifted. The crushing pressure that had been sitting on my chest since the lawsuit arrived, gone. It was finally, completely, over. 6 months after Judge Harrison's final ruling, I sat in my home office reviewing Robinson Security Consulting's quarterly reports. The numbers were almost unreal. 32 employees, revenue quadrupled from last year, projected to hit $5 million by next quarter. The company I'd built, the one Derek had tried to steal, was thriving beyond anything I'd imagined during those early days, and every bit of it was mine, clean, earned. My phone buzzed. A notification from LinkedIn. Another message from a journalist wanting to interview me for a veteran's success story. Third one this month. I'd already been featured in Military Transition Magazine and Veteran Entrepreneur Quarterly. They called me an example of post-service entrepreneurship done right, used words like resilience and strategic vision. They had no idea how much of that strategy had been fueled by rage. But they weren't wrong about the results. I closed the laptop and looked at the engagement ring sitting in its box on my desk. I'd proposed to Riley 3 weeks ago during a weekend trip to Napa. Sunset over the vineyards, just the two of us. She'd said yes before I even finished asking. We were planning the wedding for next spring. Small, intimate, just family and close friends. Nothing like the elaborate production Valerie had insisted on, the one that had cost me $15,000 and ended with her bent over our bed with my business partner. This would be different, better, real. Last Sunday, we'd gone to my parents' house for dinner. Mom had made pot roast, the same recipe she'd been making since I was a kid. That smell of carrots and potatoes simmering for hours always brought me back to simpler times. Dad pulled me aside while Riley was helping Mom in the kitchen. "This one's different," he said, sipping his beer. "She's got character. She stands with you, not just beside you." "I know." "Good." He nodded. "That matters. When things get hard, and they will, they always do, you need someone who's got your back, not someone who's looking for the exit." Mom hugged me before we left, whispering, "I'm so happy for you, sweetheart. You deserve this." I was starting to believe her. Through various sources, mutual acquaintances, social media, the grapevine that exists in every community, I'd heard about Valerie and Derek. Valerie was still in that studio apartment. She'd been promoted to assistant manager at her retail job, which I supposed was something. But she was alone, single. From what I'd heard, she'd tried dating a few times, but nothing stuck. Derek's situation was worse. The lawsuit had bankrupted him completely. At 40 years old, he'd moved back in with his parents in their Sacramento suburb. The non-compete still had 2 years left on it, and even after it expired, his reputation was so thoroughly destroyed that he'd never work in security consulting again. No one wanted to hire the guy who'd betrayed his military partner and embezzled company funds. I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little bit. Last week, I'd run into an old mutual friend at a coffee shop. Greg Martinez, someone Derek and I had both known from the early days of the business. "Man," he'd said, shaking his head, "you really destroyed him." "No," I'd corrected. "He destroyed himself. He made the choices. He faced the consequences. I just made sure those consequences actually mattered." Still, pretty brutal. "Brother, I spent 8 months in Afghanistan getting shot at so he could build a life here. He repaid that by trying to steal everything I'd worked for, my wife, my business, my dignity. You think I should have just let that slide? Should have been the bigger man and walked away?" He'd thought about it. "No, I guess not." "Damn right." I'd shaken his hand. Sometimes being the bigger man means standing up for yourself. Means making sure that betrayal has consequences. Otherwise, people like Derek just keep doing it. Because here's the truth they don't tell you. Sometimes the good guy wins. Sometimes the betrayers lose. Sometimes justice actually happens. And when it does, it feels damn good. Now I'm sitting on my back porch, watching the sunset paint the Sacramento skyline in shades of orange and gold. Riley's inside making dinner. I can hear her singing along to something. Sounds like Taylor Swift, which always makes me smile. This is what peace looks like. This is what winning looks like. Valerie and Derek had their chance at happiness. They threw it away for a scheme that fell apart the moment I walked through my front door. They thought they could have it all. The affair, the money, the company, the respect. They were wrong. I have it all now. The successful business. The loving partner. The respect of my peers. The knowledge that I stood up for myself and protected what mattered. And them? They have regret. They have consequences. They have exactly what they earned. "Dinner's ready," Riley calls from inside. I stand up, smiling. This is my life now, the one I rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal, the one I fought for and won, and it's everything I deserve. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.